The purpose of an interactive graphic organizer is to arrange vocabulary in a way that supports understanding of both the words and the language function being taught. The ideas should be represented visually in pictures and labeled, making the information more accessible for students. Interactive graphic organizers become part of the functional language environment and can be used as resources by students as they listen, speak, read, and write.
An interactive graphic organizer is really a structure for displaying information. It could be anything from like a Venn diagram to a chart to a web. I use it a lot as a whole group mechanism for as we're learning new information.
Today we're going to be learning about a riverbank ecosystem. A riverbank ecosystem is all the living and non-living things that live on the shore by a river. That's what this picture is right here. Take a look. Silently think for 10 seconds. What things do you see in this picture?
We started with looking at a picture of a riverbank ecosystem, and first having the kids just look at it, and I think you should never speed past this, like, what do you see question. I'm really giving kids time to identify the things in the picture and using their own language for that.
Turn to that turn and talk partner and tell them, I see. G-O, go.
I see some flowers. I see some ducks that are trying to find food.
There are also like living plants in the pond, so that way.
As they were talking, it was interesting. They picked out right away some of the big things in the picture, like the swan or the frog or the tree or the pond. But then as they continued to talk, they were able to pull out more detail, things like dragonflies or the cattails that were in the picture. Students listen to each other, we have a discussion, and then as a class, we create the graphic organizer on a visual display so that it's something that we made as a group, as a community.
I want to hear all the different things that you saw. This poster says riverbank ecosystem, things we see.
Seagrass and
Cattails. Thank you. Okay, what else do we see in this picture?
There's so much opportunity and so much flexibility with the interactive graphic organizer. Really, it's just a tool for them to learn something new and then organize that new learning.
You two back there, go ahead.
a rock and I see water.
After that, we moved on and did a separate conversation on that same picture. Now that they had identified the objects in the picture, we wanted them to start thinking critically about how are those things related to one another? How do they interact and connect?
All right, so we've got a long list, and I heard that some of you already start talking about like how these things are connected to each other, how they are related. And so now we're going to do another turn and talk, but this question is going to be different. I want you to think, how are all of these things on our list and in the picture related? How are they interacting with each other? How are they connected? Okay.
They also can develop in the water, and the frogs and the tadpoles live in the water.
Once we'd identified the things in the picture and brainstormed their connections, I wanted to organize that information a little more clearly, both for myself and for the kids, so we could continue to use that throughout the unit.
There's a lot of stuff on this list and in this picture. How are they related or connected?
And there's fish in water, and of course, fish need water to survive.
Okay. What's another relationship?
I created the graphic organizer with our topic at the top, riverbank ecosystem. And then I wanted to model for them my thinking around how you could start organizing this information. I modeled for them like, the first thing we could do is break it into living and non-living. And so I had that written down beforehand. And then I modeled for them how to pick out the non-living things from our conversation. And I added those on to the graphic organizer. Once I had modeled the skill, then I wanted them to be able to start thinking about how could we organize the rest of the information. And so had them do a discussion about how we could organize the different information.
From like the smallest animals.
We landed on things that are in the pond and out of the pond. That's the beauty of it, is like the kids get to decide what makes the most sense to them.
To determine which kind of graphic organizer to use, consider the academic task that's required of students. For example, use a flowchart for sequencing events, a diagram for comparing and contrasting, a T-chart for expressing cause and effect, or a cluster or web for classifying and describing characteristics.
So after we had created the interactive graphic organizer, we moved into the mix and match.
Mix and match is a quick way to get students to interact and talk together about newly learned content.
The point of mix and match is to continue to think about how living things and non-living things interact with each other. And so you're each going to get a card today. You are going to get air, and it looks like this, okay? You are gonna get beaver, and it looks like this, all right? Here are the steps for mix and match. First, you need to find a partner. Then you need to compare your cards and see if they match, if they do have a relationship. If they match, you're gonna switch your cards. If they don't match, that's okay. You're gonna go and find a new partner.
In a typical mix and match activity, students must interact to find a partner who has a corresponding card. The cards could be a picture of something related to what you're teaching cut in half, a sentence cut in half, or even a word and its definition.
I really think of mix and match as a tool that can help kids in a lot of ways, and specifically students who are learning the English language. The two really big benefits I see in the tool, first, it helps push them outside of their comfort zone and talk to all of the students in the classroom. And I think within one classroom, you might have students who are native English speakers, and you might have students who are not.
Find an animal. I think that a child is an animal, so I think we should trade.
I think the other piece that's helpful about mix and match is that it's a structured activity, and the kids are repeating the same sort of structured language throughout and getting repeated practice with that one structure, which makes them feel successful and really solidifies that language habit for them in the span of one lesson.
What relationships?
At the end of the lesson, we came back together and wanted to revisit the interactive graphic organizer. It's called interactive for a reason. You go back and you can revise it and revise it and revise it based on new learning. And so wanted to hear from their time with the mix and match, are there new connections that they should add to the poster that we had started at the beginning of the lesson? And I think it's helpful to go back and write in a different color so kids can see the layers of their learning as you build the graphic organizer together.
What's another connection?
I think when you're teaching any lesson, you shouldn't limit yourself to just one strategy. First, you need to think about, like, what is the information I'm trying to teach? What do I want my kids to be able to do at the end of this lesson? In this lesson, I used two because I wanted to make sure there was a visual piece to the lesson, and I wanted to make sure there was a language conversation piece to the lesson. So kids were both seeing the information and then using it verbally with the other students. Something I love about teaching is when kids are able to take something that they already know and connect it to something new. They get so excited about sharing that and seeing how information is connected, either within a unit or across content areas or across the year. And for them to be witness to their own building knowledge is really, really fun. And to know that you played a part in that is really, really rewarding.
Thank you. Orange. Thank you.